Right, and then says, smells good, and she says, it's my body makeup. That's her big harassment moment.
Hollywood is a place where drama is a way of life rather than merely a script. The concept of professionalism is more malleable than a yoga instructor on a caffeine binge. Egos collide and lawsuits proliferate. And Blake Lively is the main attraction today. Her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni is evidence that drama extends beyond the big screen and into courtrooms as well. After all, nothing says Hollywood like transforming a casual slow dance scene into a full-fledged legal battle. What should have been a peaceful, spontaneous scene during filming became a nightmare, according to Lively. She says that Baldoni couldn't keep his mouth shut or his remarks to himself. While most of us would consider a compliment on our cosmetics a victory, for Lively it somehow qualifies for legal action. But hold on, this isn't your typical lawsuit. There is enough hypocrisy, conflicting evidence, and leaked video in this one to make even the most seasoned fan of celebrity rumors roll their eyes. This is going to get as ridiculous as Hollywood itself, so fasten your seatbelt. All set for the punchline. The so-called harassment moment was obtained by TMZ, and, spoiler alert, it's as outrageous as a Hallmark film. Don't worry though, we'll discuss that later. Let's dive right into this slow Dan catastrophe for the time being and observe how Lively's victimization attempt is falling apart more quickly than a cheap red carpet prom dress. Here is the tea, or rather, the makeup for the body. What should have been a charming, spontaneous, slow dance scene is depicted in Blake Lively's lawsuit as Justin Baldoni. Baldoni, she said, decided to use the occasion as an opportunity to try out for Creepy Guys Anonymous. He whispered, "It smells so good," she claims, bending in and dragging his lips from her ear to her neck. We should now take a moment to examine that. Who even likes body makeup to start? Was his admiration for the department's work sincere, or was this meant to be sexy? This occurred on a movie set, which is a room full of camera crews and roughly 17 individuals with boom microphones. This must be the most blatant attempt at harassment in Hollywood history. Imagine the post-production guy simply rolling his eyes and saying, "Good, I've got to cut out a lawsuit now." However, Lively's alleged confrontation of Baldoni regarding his actions was met with a chef's kiss of absurdity. "I'm not even attracted to you, pardon me, sir, but this is the quintessential Hollywood gaslight tactic. It's like stealing someone's lunch and then saying you're on a diet." Of course, Lively's side wants you to think that there was no provocation at all, a spontaneous act of creepiness on Baldoni's part. But wait, what comes next is a TMZ, a groove twist. Indeed, the video has arrived, and she's not selling quite the scandal. Hollywood loves a good story, she said, but what happens when there's real footage? Our favorite dramatist, Teamy, came along and was able to obtain the notorious slow dance scene. Spoiler alert, the high school prom is more awkward than the scandalous harassment. This is what the video depicts. While laughing and holding hands, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are attempting to make the scene appear romantic. It's true that there is some lighthearted banter regarding makeup, and at one point Baldoni leans in and remarks, "Smells good." Whoa, that's startling. Make an FBI call. But hold on, you can see it for yourself. There's no reason to listen to my description. This is the disputed clip. Observe the laughter, the body language, and, my goodness, the complete absence of any harassment at all.
Let's score another.
I'm not getting geared on you today.
I'm probably getting a quick tan on you.
Well, it's not bad. It's my body makeup.
They win! They won!
All right, cut. I think we got plenty.
Yes.
Slow motion. It's going to be a 17-minute reel.
You see what I mean? You're giving more behind-the-scenes bloopers than you have career-ending scandals. Lively is laughing, Baldoni is saying something innocuous, and both of them are obviously aware that they are being filmed. In all honesty, if this constitutes harassment, then every romantic comedy ever produced ought to be sued in a class action. Even more absurd is the fact that Lively's team continues to try to convince us that this is some kind of smoking gun moment. We're looking at a lawsuit that's weaker than a Hollywood marriage, though, if this is the best evidence they have. Therefore, let's pause to acknowledge the ridiculousness of this situation. Although Blake Lively claimed that this scene was a complete breach of her boundaries, what we actually witnessed appeared to be two actors acting as though they were in love with the camera. Although Baldoni did comment on her scent, was that harassment or merely an odd attempt to be in character? You decide. Let's discuss the background now. There were cameras rolling, a room full of crew members, and most likely a craft services table nearby, so this wasn't some private moment in a dark corner of the set. Since nothing says, let me harass someone, such as when it's being done in front of 20 witnesses and a camera, and let's not overlook the lighthearted banter. Lily was laughing, discussing body makeup, and holding hands with Baldoni as if they were at prom again. She should win an Oscar for concealing what must have been a very awkward moment, but instead she's painting it as a tragedy from which Hollywood will never fully recover. To be honest, the only thing that is traumatizing about this situation is the amount of secondhand embarrassment that this lawsuit is causing me. At this point, the film begins to resemble a Hollywood comedy. In addition to asserting that he isn't even attracted to her, Lively says Baldoni was caressing her with his mouth, whatever that means. Justin, please choose a lane. Are you overly honest or creepy? In any case, the whole thing seems less like a serious accusation and more like the preamble to a weak sitcom. And just when you thought it couldn't get any funnier, it does. Lively's attorneys step up their efforts. They contend that a pattern of harassment is demonstrated by this single incident, a pattern that, it should be noted, appears to involve more lighthearted banter than real wrongdoing. A larger courtroom will be necessary for Hollywood if this is the new norm for harassment.
They are playfully acting for the camera, trying to make it look like two lovers, two people in a relationship, are dancing with one another. She's giggling, she's holding his hands. They are not speaking as their characters because the sound was not going to be used in the film, but they are in character.
We have now reached the point in the story where Blake Lively really steps it up. By presenting this incident as yet another instance of Hollywood's pervasive harassment culture, she bravely joins the Me Too movement in her lawsuit. But here's the issue. To begin with, there are more flaws in this scandal than a pair of high-end jeans. Lively conveniently omits one important detail from her claim to be a Me Too victim. Context. Do you recall the text messages created by Baldoni's team? The ones where Lively invited him to her trailer while she was nursing, you know? To put it mildly, those don't exactly shout victim of harassment. They're sending conflicting messages. Why was she casually texting him as if they were arranging a coffee date? And then there was the notorious accusation of pornography, if Baldoni was that scary. Lively alleges that while on set, Baldoni's producer showed her offensive content. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? Unless the purported pornography was a picture of a couple holding their newborn after a home birth, which was entirely non-explicit. That's the smoking gun indeed. When the jury sees that, picture their expressions. We present Exhibit A, which contains wholesome family content, ladies and gentlemen. However, let's return to the hashtag to raise awareness of this significant and serious movement. Lively appears to be relying on public pity to support her argument. The issue is that it's difficult to muster sympathy when the evidence against her presents a completely different picture. For each assertion she makes, there is a seat, a text, or a video clip that refutes it. At this point, it seems more like she is fighting for publicity than against justice. The Me Too movement is about holding actual predators accountable, not using it as a weapon. The more this case develops, the more it appears that Lively is taking advantage of a legal movement to avenge a professional grievance. If this is how she views justice, Hollywood may begin to include legal disclaimers in each casting call.
Just tell me what it was like also collaborating with Blake in this.
Oh, she's a creative force. She's a genius. She was involved in every aspect of this production, and everything she touched, she made better.
Turning lawsuits into full-fledged media circuses is something Hollywood is very good at, and Blake Lively is proving to be quite the ringmaster. In order to set the stage for a public narrative in which she is the damsel in distress and Justin Baldoni is the big bad wolf, she conveniently ran her claims to the New York Times prior to filing her lawsuit. Not so subtle, isn't it? This is the way it happens. Sorry. Lively's legal team claims that her complaint to the California Human Rights Office was only a formality. However, let's call it that. an act of public relations, since the Times somehow managed to get hold of the juicy details shortly after. Isn't that a coincidence? And TMZ won't be covering scandals tomorrow, I'm sure, but it doesn't end there. In addition to playing the victim, Lively is also manipulating the media. She made sure the public court intervened before the actual courts did by leaking specific information to the media. This is the Hollywood method. Get Twitter to support you before a judge does. Naturally, Boni didn't take this line down. Instead, his team responded with their own series of media leaks that exposed flaws in Lively's story, including text messages and video. While she's occupied with portraying herself as the voice of the oppressed, he's pulling receipts over here as if he were operating a boutique. A gag order is now being demanded by the pest resistance Lively. Yes, Baldoni is being asked to stop leaking information by the same person who essentially mailed her complaint to the New York Times. For what reason? Because his leaks are merely retaliatory, whereas hers seem to be about justice. Like starting a fire and then whining about the smoke. The hypocrisy is almost poetic. The kicker is this: Lively's team maintains that her reputation is being harmed by Baldoni's leaks. However, if your reputation is at stake in a lawsuit, it's possible that the issue isn't the leaks, but rather that your scandal is as tenuous as a Hollywood alibi. When you're losing the public narrative, the gag order is the ultimate Hollywood tactic. Justin Baldoni and his legal team are currently being hurriedly silenced by Blake Lively's team, who say their media leaks are harming her reputation. The only thing more ruined than her reputation is this lawsuit, honey. To put it simply, Lively has been providing the media with selective information for months, creating a story in which she is the protagonist and Baldoni is the antagonist. Furthermore, it is now unfair, since Baldoni's team is playing the same game. Make it logical. The irony is that public opinion will determine how her case is perceived overall. Before appearing in court, she spoke to the media, made her grievances as widely known as possible, and even invoked the Me Too movement as a moral defense. Now, however, it is unethical and retaliatory when Boni responds with concrete proof. Yes, both the timing and the moral superiority of one-sided PR wars are important considerations. Almost as if Lively's team realized their smoking gun was more of a water pistol, the gag order request was made immediately after Baldoni released footage that contradicted her claims. At this stage, the gag order seems more like a last-ditch effort to halt the bleeding than a legal necessity. However, Hollywood scandals have a tendency to spread like wildfire. You can't take it back, or in this case, the courtroom, once it's out there. Whether you agree with Baldoni's leaks or not, they expose the obvious contradictions in Lively's story, and no amount of PR spin or gag orders can reverse that. What exactly does Lively's team want, then? Take charge. The story, the narrative, and above all, the conclusion are all things they wish to control. The reality is that you can't complain when the other side does a better job of public relations. Now, as we reach the grand finale, Hollywood reminds us that it's a mindset rather than just a location. From the accusations to the lawsuits to the media leaks, this whole story perfectly captures all of our favorite and least favorite aspects of Tinseltown. This is fundamentally a story about ego, reputations, and the never-ending quest for public sympathy rather than justice or accountability. While Justin Baldoni portrays the misunderstood hero and Blake Lively plays the victim, the rest of us are merely spectators, enjoying popcorn and wondering how this whole thing will resolve itself. The thing is, though, it doesn't stop there. Not really, as Hollywood scandals are about sustaining the drama, rather than finding answers. The show must go on, whether via courtrooms, news reports, or easily leaked video. So, what's the lesson here? Hollywood, where lawsuits are used as publicity stunts, where the truth is whatever garners the most clicks, and where the distinction between performance and reality is more hazy than ever, may be the reason why it will always be Hollywood. Blake Lively's lawsuit has ultimately revealed her as the ultimate contradiction. Even though it may garner her some media, in all honesty, the most Hollywood thing of all is that she is the author of her own story, the star of her own scandal, and, let's face it, the producer of her own demise. Okay, the show is over. Want to see more twists? You'll know where we are. Keep the popcorn warm. The drama will be taken care of by us. Interested in watching the upcoming fight live? Click subscribe and fasten your seatbelt.